Hey, I'm Naya. Welcome back to the channel. So first of all, Merry Christmas. And if you got any interesting Yu-Gi-Oh gifts, make sure to drop them down in the comments. I'd love to hear that. But for real, Merry Christmas. I hope you enjoyed your holidays and everything. And now the second order of business is, as promised, I need to announce the giveaway winner. And the giveaway winner is Toastman. So thank you for your very nice comment and congrats on winning. Make sure you contact me via my email. It's somewhere on my channel, I think in the About section, it should be there. So make sure to let me know all of your info and I'll ship IP to you as soon as possible. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, today we're gonna be talking about, I wasn't sure how to properly title this, but I guess meta trends would be the best way to put it. So I realized that the YCS and the LCSs took place like a week and 2 weeks ago, but I wanted to wait to see all of the deck lists that dropped and everything and have all of the info on hand. And I just wanted to discuss with you a little bit about the cards that are being used, interesting decks, the way some decks are built and being played, since we're gonna be in this format for about a month before the next ban list drops. And yeah, I mean, I guess if it's sooner, just like the fall one was, and that's cool still. So yeah, these are just going to be a couple options that you can have. There are still remote events, regionals are coming back, so I guess we're just gonna talk about it. All right, so the first deck I wanted to discuss was Sword Soul. So what interested me was the card Heavenly Dragon Circle. So I've seen it in the deck profile on my channel, so you should check that out for sure. And I've seen it in other lists as well. It wasn't just a lone list. And basically the card it does a lot when you're trying to dodge something like Imperm, something like that, because we all know that a well-timed Imperm hurts a lot if the deck doesn't have some kind of follow-up or extender. So this is a way for you to essentially plus remove your cards off of the field. So I think it's an interesting tech to run. And then there was another list. It was only one, I believe, that did not run the Tenyi stuff, which I still feel like the Tenyis are very, very good. And I feel like this is the way you should go with the deck. But this person topped, so they had to have been doing something wrong, correct, right? And it was the YCS. So yeah, they just ran D-shifters. They ran a lot of traps. And this is the list right here, if you want to go over it. And basically, it's very interesting that they used D-Shifter. And it wasn't the only list. Actually, two lists from the YCS used D-Shifter. And I'm only talking about the European YCS, I should point out. They both use D-Shifter, and I feel like this was a very, very good meta call, so it's an option for you if you're trying to run Sword Soul. And then another card I've seen being used quite a lot was Evenly Matched. It was in one Bird Up main deck, but mainly it was used in the side, and I think it's a very, very good choice since, for example, the Bird deck, yes, they have Apex Avian, but this is the only Omni negate. So if you're somehow able to bait that negate out, you usually just can, use Evenly Matched, blow up their entire board, and then you're able to do everything in main phase 2. Now, obviously, not every deck can use it. Sometimes decks that like to go second by default can also main deck it. And Bird Up is not even the only deck. Evenly hurts most of the meta decks, if you think about it. Like, you have Sword Soul. They have a Baron, but they don't always have it if they don't open Longyan, or if they choose to not search it with Qinglong. If they choose to not search it with Chengyin. And yeah, you can totally get rid of that board. There's also the IDS board. They need to choose what they want to keep. For example, Winda, for example, Makaba, but they cannot have everything. And it's much easier to deal with only one type of floodgate disruption or whatever. And there's also Drytron. Now we need to take into account that they have Omni negates in plural, just because, the fairies grant a lot of negates in tandem with Eva and things like that. But if you're trying to put in a lot of things to combat their board, now in theory, if you draw them during their turn and then, it's your turn, you have something like evenly get rid of everything they have left or something like that. What you need to do is just pair it up with another thing, or just choose not to side it, since Evenly does have a lot of implications in other matchups as well. So I think this is a very cool and interesting option, and especially because the price did drop you should probably look into it. Just, get a playset, have it ready. Now, I realize it's not like, €5 a piece, but it's still a card that can be applicable in a certain format and meta, which right now it is. So it's something you can have sitting in your binder and just have it ready. Then another one, since we're on the topic of traps, was D-Barrier. Now, I've seen D-Barrier in almost every single side deck. Like, it was everywhere. D-Barrier was legit everywhere because it's just so good against birds, so good against Sword Soul. You can just turn off basically everything the deck is trying to accomplish. Now, there are a lot of ways of going about doing so. Basically, if you're trying to turn off the entire bird turn, you can just shotgun it. But if you want, for example, if you went second and first, and they're trying to Zeus your board, maybe just wait for them to go into something like Assembled. If they feel like their recital might be threatened, they're not gonna go into it right away and waste it. So you're not even afraid of them plussing, with a search. And then you can on Assembled, when they go into the battle phase, just take the 800 damage, whatever, D-Barrier them, and now they've wasted, 2 monsters, they've wasted Assembled, they cannot go into Downward and Zeus, they cannot get rid of your board, and if they don't have extenders, they're not really in a good spot since they cannot XYZ with them anyway, so... yeah, I think D-Barrier is a very nice card to side in this format. Now the next deck, since we mentioned Droidtron a bit before, will be Droidtron. So I've seen different variants. Now Droidtron has been changing quite a lot in the last couple of formats, just because, they got... Diviner, they got Mu Beta before they weren't even played after the ban list, and we got the Megalith version and all of these things, and I've seen almost every single version possible. Most of them had Artifact Scythe. Now, Scythe was seen everywhere, but let's stay on topic right here. We're gonna talk about Scythe later on. So Scythe was there together with Dagda, and then there was the Megalith version and the pre-prep version. So I have not tested all of them, so I cannot elaborate on Droidtron too much, just because I played them even before Ben 10 got hit, so way back when. Then I tested them a bit with Mu Beta, but right now I'm not really in the realm of Droidtrons. But I still feel like if I was to build them, I would go for the pre-prep version, just because, being able to put on the Herald of Perfection on board as soon as you can, I think this is very, very important, since Droidtrons, if they do not open the perfect hand, can be quite susceptible to hand traps and things like that if you time them well. So yeah, there are a lot of different versions. I had Nova on my predictions list of being limited, but if Droidtrons do not get hit on the ban list, which is still an option if Konami deems it to be a way too fragile deck to even bother touching it, it's still an option. You can run all of these versions, you can test everything. So yeah, there's that. And now we can mention the Sightlock. Now, Sight has been legit everywhere, and it's so lame to even talk about it, but it is the reality we're in right now. And there was also a Skystrike list, I'll have it right over here, that was like Scythe Turbo, basically, which Skystriker became like a turbo of whatever, usually DPE. Now it's artifacts, and it's just annoying. And they had Artifact Ignition, they had Sanctum in the main, 2 sites. So yeah, it's used a lot. And also in Droidtron. Also, it can be used in something like Phantom Knights. Yeah, it's just something incredibly lame to deal with. And hopefully it gets hit. It's everywhere. Just be aware of it. Cite something like Cyclone. Just be ready. If it doesn't get hit, we're gonna have to deal with it for an even longer time. So just have it on your mind at all times, just so you don't lose to it immediately. Now the next 2 things I wanted to mention was Gamma and also DD Crow. So those 2 hand traps rose in popularity quite a lot, and an interesting thing I've seen with Gamma was that it was used in the side deck. Now it does eat up 4 slots, but if you have something like Chalice or something like Droplet in your main deck, which we've seen that quite a lot also, you essentially have going second cards in the main deck, and then you free up your side deck to play something like Gamma with those 4 slots eating up space. Just because you do not always want to have it in your main deck if you need to go first and you're not really comfortable with that. Something like Dragon Link can easily run Gamma, go first, and hope, you ash them on Chaos Space and they can Gamma you, or something like Tri-Brigade with Fractal, things like that. But yes, still it was used more in the side deck than in the main deck. And I feel like that was interesting to point out because it's still an option if you swap the spaces in the main deck, like I said before, with some other going second cards. And then when you know you're going second, and you have those 4 slots calculated with what you can take out of the main deck, it's a very, very good call, just because Gamma hits a lot of things. Like, Gamma is legit an incredible hand trap. It's been always, not used in every single format, but when it is, it's very impactful. And then also DD Crow, I think it's so cool. DD Crow is such an underrated hand trap, but can be used against something like DPE, for the most part. It can also be used in a striker matchup, just to get rid of something like Raid, to get rid of something like Engage, the one-offs. It can be used in a Tri-Brigade matchup if you really needed the bird matchup to get rid of something necessary, that they don't have the types in the graveyard, or cards for something like Canary where it needs to target to special summon itself, things like that. Tron names, it's just, Phantom Knight stuff, Elflich traps, you could go on and on and on and on, and obviously the bird deck searches it, so you can play one in the main deck, you can maybe side additional copies. So yeah, DD Crow has been really, really rising in popularity, and I think it's very cool. Then just a couple random facts. If I counted that correctly, when I was looking at European YCS top 32 deck lists, 13 of them ran DPE. And I think this is it's a bit, I guess, dangerous if you look at it. So many people are running it. You really need to be ready for it. And it's just such an amazing card. It totally replaced Dragoon. And be ready for it. That's all I wanted to say. And then another thing, I've seen a bird list with Small World. Now, obviously, this has been played before. It's not something very new. But it's interesting to me that only one list was playing Small World. Just because the birds are quite consistent when it comes to them, by itself, if you run a big enough engine, which after testing and after flopping at the YCS with a smaller bird count, I can, say that you need to play a lot of birds. And when you play a lot of birds, everything's going to be much more consistent. You're going to have a better time playing that deck and actually seeing your engine. So Small World is not that needed. But, there is that line with Dynatherium, and it's an option you can test out, obviously. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, and I've touched upon that before, so Chalice and Droplet, also Dark Ruler in the main. I've seen all 3. And it's that topic that we discussed a lot of the times before, whether or not to run going second cards, hand traps, a mixture of both. Right now, I feel like the mixture is the best way to go, just because you're ready for every single situation. But legit, almost every single list I've seen, almost every single one ran Droplet. Now, if you cannot afford it, obviously Chalice or a Ruler, even Veilers and Imperms are an option. But Droplet is just an incredible card. The way you can go through boards, without even caring is incredible. So cards like these, you should, I think, really invest into if you can, just because they're really, really, really impactful. So yeah, that's also something to keep in mind. So yeah, that was pretty much it. I hope this video wasn't too long. I hope I covered everything. I just wanted to bring everything to light, basically, to say, like I mentioned in the beginning, we're gonna be in this format for a couple weeks now, and if there are some tech choices that you can take from this video to perfect your deck, to test them, to use them, to have them ready for when regionals are live again, I guess I've done my job, if that's something that you can help yourself with. So yeah, this was the intention. If you got anything from this video, or if you were just entertained, chilled here, whatever, I'm grateful. Make sure to give me a like. Merry Christmas again. Make sure to give me a like, a sub, check out Twitch, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.